Hello and welcome to Chilltalk English. Today, we have something very special for you. We are going to share a real English conversation, but in a warm and easy way so you can enjoy it and learn at the same time.
Yes, and I love this kind of episode. When I was younger, I loved hearing older people tell stories about their past. Everything sounded so different. Their world felt bigger, slower, and sometimes a little wild.
Mine too. And today, I will be the one telling the story, which is slightly dangerous because when I talk about the past, I suddenly become very dramatic.
It is true. Henry starts with one small memory, and 5 minutes later, he is speaking like he survived life on another planet.
To be fair, I was 22, living in a small gray city in the north of England. Back then, I worked in a little record shop during the day, and at night, I played drums in a local band.
That already sounds cooler than my early jobs.
It sounds cooler than it was. Most days, I carried boxes, cleaned dusty shelves, and tried to look like I understood music better than I really did.
That is perfect for today's lesson. You are going to hear a real conversation about one of Henry's old adventures. Then we will slow down and talk about some useful words and expressions. After that, we will look at one phrasal verb, and then we'll do a little pronunciation practice together.
So, while you listen, think about this. What place felt magical to you when you were young? Maybe it was a beach, a village, a city, or even your grandmother's kitchen.
And if you have your own story, that is wonderful. This episode can help you talk about your past in simple English.
All right, let's begin.
Henry, before this adventure happened, where were you in life?
I was 22, living in a small gray city in the north of England. Back then, I worked in a little record shop during the day, and at night, I played drums in a local band.
That already sounds cooler than my early jobs.
It sounds cooler than it was. Most days I carried boxes, cleaned dusty shelves, and tried to look like I understood music better than I really did.
Still, you were in a band.
Yes, but not a very successful one. We played in tiny bars. Sometimes 10 people came, sometimes 5. One time, I think one of the 5 was asleep.
That is still an audience, Henry.
A very peaceful audience. Anyway, the band broke up at the end of summer. It was not a big fight. We were just tired, broke, and moving in different directions.
And that was the moment when you thought, I need to do something new.
Exactly. I had a little money saved, not a lot, just enough to feel brave for 3 or 4 days. I also had an old green van that belonged to my cousin before me.
I need to know more about this van.
It was awful, truly awful. The left door only opened from the outside. The radio worked only when the weather was dry, and one window made a strange whistle when I drove faster than 50 miles an hour.
So, of course, you said, let's go on a road trip.
Of course, bad ideas often arrive wearing the clothes of freedom.
That is such a Henry sentence.
I told 2 friends, let's drive south to the sea. I had loved the coast since I was a child. My aunt used to live in a small place called Seaford Point. It had white cliffs, a pebble beach, little boats, and cold wind that made your eyes water.
That sounds beautiful.
It was. When I was a boy, it felt magical. The air smelled like salt and wet stone. There was a small bakery near the harbor, and every morning the whole street smelled of warm bread. I used to think, one day I want to stay here longer. I want a life near the sea.
So, this trip was not random. It was a place already living in your heart.
Yes, that is a nice way to say it. I did not just want a holiday, I wanted to go back to a feeling.
I like that. So, you and your friends got into the sad green van. Then what happened?
First, we drove to Brighton because a friend of mine was staying there. We thought we would sleep on his floor for one night, eat cheap noodles, and make a better plan in the morning.
A classic young people plan.
A plan with many holes in it.
My favorite kind.
But when we got there, my friend said, "I'm going to Lantern Bay tomorrow for the Midsummer Street Festival. You should come too."
And did you say no because you were calm and sensible?
Emma, you know I did not.
I know.
I looked at my friends looked at me, and off we went the next morning.
I love that phrase, off we went. It sounds happy and a little foolish.
It was both. The road to Lantern Bay followed the sea for a long time. We passed small villages, old stone walls, fields full of sheep, and all kinds of little roadside cafes.
That sounds like a movie.
A cheap movie, maybe, but yes. The weather changed every hour. One moment we had bright sun, then gray clouds, then light rain, then sun again. It was one of those days when the sky could not decide anything.
And what was Lantern Bay like?
Smaller than I remembered. That surprised me. When I was a child, everything there felt big. But back then, I was small. When I returned as an adult, the streets looked narrower, the shops looked older, and the harbor looked quieter.
That happens so often. A place stays the same, but you change.
Exactly. Still, it was lovely. There were paper lights hanging above the streets. People were selling soup, tea, grilled fish, and sweet cakes. Someone was playing violin near the square. Kids were running everywhere. Old couples sat outside cafes like they had been doing it forever.
Okay, now I want to go there.
It was wonderful. But then evening came and we had a problem.
You had no place to sleep.
Correct. Every guest house was full. Every small hotel had a sign in the window, "No rooms."
Not ideal.
Not ideal at all. We asked a man outside a shop and he said, "Try the hill road." We asked a woman walking her dog and she said, "Maybe near the old rail line." Finally, an older man near the harbor said, "If you really need a place, there is an old cherry orchard behind the disused station. Nobody farms it now."
An old cherry orchard already sounds a little magical.
It did. He told us there was a broken gate and a narrow path. So we drove there at sunset and found it.
What did it look like?
Wild, quiet, half forgotten. Some trees were old and bent. Tall grass reached my knees. There were brambles, ferns, and little white flowers growing where they wanted. You could still see lines where the orchard had once been neat, but nature had taken most of it back.
That is beautiful.
It was beautiful and also a little spooky. There was an empty shed with one door hanging sideways. There were old crates on the ground, and every sound felt louder because no one else was there.
So, did you camp there?
We did. We put up one small tent for my friends, and I planned to sleep in the van. I thought, this is perfect. Quiet, free, and hidden.
I hear trouble coming.
Trouble always walks faster than I do. About 20 minutes later, a local ranger came down the path on a bicycle.
On a bicycle? That is somehow more serious than a car.
It really was. He stopped, looked at us, and said, "Evening."
Oh no.
We tried to look friendly and harmless, which is difficult when three tired young men are standing beside a van in an abandoned orchard.
Very difficult.
I asked, "Is it okay if we stay here for one night?" He looked around and said, "I'm not going to move you, but if someone else sees this camp, they might report you."
So he did not exactly say yes.
No, but he did not say no. Then he said something I still remember. He said, "If you want peace, don't stay near the path. Look around. Find a place the eye cannot catch."
That is a very poetic ranger.
It was the sea air. It makes people poetic.
So what did you do?
We took his advice. We left the tent where it was for the moment and started to look around the orchard. We walked past the old trees, behind the broken shed, and down a narrow slope at the far end.
And
There was a thick wall of green there, blackberry bushes, ivy, tall weeds, and one young oak tree growing at an angle. From the path above, it just looked like a messy patch of plants, but behind it there was a small open space.
a secret room?
Exactly. It felt like a green room without a roof, so we cleared out the middle. Very carefully. We did not cut much. We only moved loose branches and tall grass. Then we made enough space for the tent and the van.
You got the van in there?
Just barely. I had to drive very slowly. My friend stood outside and waved his arms like he was guiding a ship into a tiny port.
I can see it.
Once the van was inside, we pulled some long branches back across the opening and tied them with rope. From outside, it still looked wild. Not perfect, but good enough.
That is honestly brilliant.
It was one of the best bad ideas of my youth.
And what about the path? If the entrance was easy to see, people could still find you.
Yes, and that is why we made a strange little walkway through the grass. We did not make one straight path. We made it curve left, then right, then left again.
So from far away, people could not see where it went.
Exactly. At night, it was almost invisible unless you already knew it was there.
That is very clever for someone who says he was not smart.
Fear can make people creative.
Did you sleep well?
Better than expected. I heard wind in the leaves, one late train far away, and gulls crying before sunrise. For one night, I felt free in a very simple way. No schedule, no boss, no stage, just the sea nearby, my friends asleep, and the strange feeling that the world was still open.
That is lovely.
In the morning, sunlight came through the leaves and made little gold shapes inside the van. My back hurt, my neck hurt, and I smelled terrible.
Ah, yes, the true face of adventure.
Exactly. Adventure is beautiful in memory and uncomfortable in the body.
But if you could go back, would you still do it?
Yes, 100%. I would take more water, better food, and maybe a less tragic van, but yes, I would still go.
I think many listeners will understand that feeling. When you are young, a small trip can feel like a whole new life.
It really can.
All right, let's slow this down and learn from the story. We are going to talk about some useful expressions Henry used.
The first one is back then. I said, back then I worked in a record shop, and back then I was small. We use back then to talk about life in the past.
It is very useful when you compare the past and now. For example, back then I lived with my parents. Or back then I was afraid to speak English.
The second expression is off we went. I used it when we decided to drive to Lantern Bay.
This means we started going somewhere, often with energy, excitement, or a little surprise. You can say, we packed our bags and off we went. It feels lively and fun.
The next phrase is all kinds of. I said we passed all kinds of little roadside cafes.
This means many different types. Very simple and very common. You can say, I like all kinds of music, Or there were all kinds of people at the market.
Then I used look around. The ranger told us to look around for a hidden place.
Look around means search in the area near you, not just one quick look. You move your eyes, maybe your body too, and check different places. I looked around the room for my keys. Very useful.
After that, I said we cleared out the middle of the hidden space.
Clear out means remove things from a place so there is space. For example, I need to clear out my bag, or we cleared out the old boxes from the room.
And you said my idea was brilliant.
Yes, because I am kind and generous. Brilliant means very smart or very clever. In everyday English, people also use it to mean excellent, like that is a brilliant idea, or even your English is brilliant today.
I will remember that sentence forever.
Good. Now, let's look at one phrasal verb from the story, drop by.
I could say a local ranger dropped by our camp.
Drop by means visit for a short and casual time. It is not usually a long visit, and often it is not very formal. A friend can drop by your house. A neighbor can drop by for tea.
You can also use it for places. I dropped by the shop after work. That means I went there for a short time.
Let's make two easy examples. My cousin dropped by last night, and I dropped by the bakery this morning.
Very natural. And now a little pronunciation practice.
Our sentence is, back then it felt like a different world.
Listen again. Back then it felt like a different world.
In natural speech, felt like a becomes smooth. Felt like a. Not too hard, not too separate.
Also, many speakers say different very quickly. It can sound like different.
So the full sentence becomes, back then it felt like a different world.
Let's say it once more, slowly. Back then, it felt like a different world.
And now a little faster. Back then it felt like a different world.
One more time together. Back then, it felt like a different world.
Nicely done.
Before we finish, here is a simple question for you. What place felt different when you visited it again? Maybe your school, your old street, or your grandparents' home?
Try to answer in easy English. You can say, back then it was small, or back then it felt magical. Short sentences are great.
And remember, your English does not need to be perfect to be meaningful. A simple, true story is powerful.
Thanks for spending time with us today on Chilltalk English.
We hope this episode helped you listen, learn, and feel a little more confident.
Take care, keep practicing, and if life gives you an old green van, maybe ask one more question before you say yes.
Wise advice. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.